overdue honor for an often overlooked American president and military commander. On Friday, President Biden signed a measure authorizing a record $858 billion for the Pentagon. The National Defense Authorization Act includes pay raises for service members, funding for ships, tanks, and aircraft, and military support for Taiwan and Ukraine. But buried within the legislation is a provision giving Ulysses S. Grant a promotion to the military's highest rank. David Martin explains why it's coming 157 years after the Civil War ended.
General Ulysses S. Grant had been consigned to history as the stolid and plodding Union general who defeated the daring and dashing Confederate General Robert E. Lee. No longer.
If there's an historic wrong, let's make it right.
Senator Sherrod Brown sponsored a provision in the massive defense spending bill that promotes Grant to General of the Armies, a rank held by only two other Americans: George Washington, commander of the Revolutionary Army, and Blackjack Pershing, commander of American forces in World War I.
I think it's always good to revisit history and to shine a bright light on those who have done well.
Brown could be accused of bias since he's the senator from Ohio, which was Grant's home state. But ask retired General David Petraeus.
Grant truly was the man who saved the Union. His actions, more than any other individual in uniform, that ultimately ensured that the North won that war and that the Union was preserved.
As America's deadliest war ground on with no end in sight, President Lincoln turned in desperation to Grant, who took command and chased Lee all the way to the courthouse at Appomattox and accepted his surrender.
He is arguably the greatest battlefield general in American military history. No other U.S. Army general did what he did, which was to demonstrate true brilliance on the battlefield at every level of warfare.
A portrait quite at odds with many of the historical depictions of Grant.
He was dismissed as incompetent or corrupt or an alcoholic that couldn't manage his demons and his alcohol.
Lincoln, when told that Grant drank, famously responded, "Find out what he drinks, give it to the other generals, at least he fights."
The wheel of history has turned, and Grant now stands on a pedestal with only two other Americans, while statues of Robert E. Lee are coming down. For CBS Saturday Morning, this is David Martin at the Pentagon.
Interesting ways peace started. If there's a historic wrong, let's make it right. Something to remember.